next I'm going to show you a dress that I made several years ago as well. This dress is a little bit more involved, and I'll try to keep it short, the description of it short, so I don't lose your attention. But basically, for this, there were 6 pieces that I needed to sew together. So I made the front bodice piece. It's very simple. I used, again, another shirt that I already had to trace around to create my pattern. It's a very simple scoop high neckline and curved armpit. Another curve here, straight down and straight across, right at my waistline. And you want to allow, when you're cutting out your pattern, I'll show you in a minute, but you want to allow a little bit extra fabric. You don't want to cut it too short because you want to have enough fabric to sew the pieces together and have some left over. Also, if you need to take it in, you can always take it in, but you can never add more fabric. So you want to be a little bit generous. And then for the skirt on the front, it's just one big, basically a rectangle. It's a little bit angled out at the bottom to make an A-line shape. And then the back, the bodice is the exact same piece as the front. This is the simplest way to do it. Oftentimes in shirts, the back neckline is higher than in the front. So you could make the back come up higher, and then the front you could draw it scooping down lower, or you could make a V-neck or a square neckline or a sweetheart neckline. It's up to you. This is the most simple. But the only difference between the back and the front at this point is cutting it into 2 sections so that you can insert a zipper later. Same thing with the skirt in the back. It's the same as the front, but I just slid it down the middle so it's 2 separate pieces so that I could insert a zipper. So, here we go. When I started to sew it, the very first thing I needed to do was include darts. Darts are these magical things that make clothes happen. So obviously, when you're cutting out your pattern, it's 2-dimensional. The paper is 2-dimensional or flat. The fabric is flat. Obviously, your body, some models nowadays are almost dangerously close to 2-dimensional, but most of us are 3-dimensional. We have form, we have shape, we have curves. So to make clothes actually fit us, we need to include these darts, which are a way of, I'll try to include a tutorial on this as well. But darts for the bust angle up, and what it is folding your fabric on the inside. I don't know if you can see this, but it's creating kind of a triangular shape. I'll show a tutorial on this in a minute. But you fold your fabric over and you create a triangular shape in your fabric, and you just do a simple stitch so that it makes the fabric become more 3-dimensional. So you want to make sure you do it symmetrically, or the same on both sides. So however far down you measure to where you put your dart on one side, you want to do it the same on the other side. Then in the waist, I also included a dart on either side. And for the back, I did that as well. Then for the skirt, are you still with me? For the skirt, I made some darts at the waistline in the front and the back. Now here's the thing. 2 most important things probably when you're constructing your garment. One is to pin all the pieces together and try it on before you actually start sewing to see if your piece is actually going to work. And then if it doesn't, make any modifications that you need to. Let me turn that off. Okay, we're back. I'm sorry, I had a phone call I had to take. So you want to make sure you pin all of your pieces together so that you can make any modifications before you start sewing. The other really important thing to do is to always make sure you're sewing on the inside of your fabric, not the outside. So just like fabric has a right side and a wrong side, your garment that you're putting together has an inside out and a right side out. You obviously wear it when it's right side out, but when you're working on it, you're always going to work on the inside out. So I'll show you the internal view of this dress. Not quite as pretty, maybe a little funkier. Sometimes you might want, for aesthetic reasons, you might want to show the seams. Now in a more professional garment, like a lot of the things that you buy in the store, things will be lined with another fabric. But we're not dealing with anything on that level at this point. We're kind of doing the more basic approach. And it still works great. I've gotten a lot of compliments on these clothes, so we're just going to run with it. But you can see here, when I attached my bodice to my skirt, I just lined up the edge of both pieces of fabric. And first of all, when I made my pattern, I made sure that they were the same width so that they would line up perfectly and the skirt wouldn't be hanging out a lot wider than the top. So make sure that they're the same width. Then I stitched right along there, and I left about over 1/2 inch of a seam allowance. Standard seam allowance, that means how much fabric is above where you stitched to the edge. Standard seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch, so that's just a little bit over 1/2 inch, which would be 4/8. So 5/8 of an inch, you stitch right along here. You want to leave that much so that if the fabric starts to fray, they're not going to start being pulled apart with the strain that your body is putting on it. So you want to leave a little bit of room. Then I stitched the back. So I lined up my back of my bodice, this half, with this half of the skirt of the back. And then I did it on this side as well. Then I included the zipper, and then I stitched up the sides of my dress. Same thing, and again, just like the panel skirt that I showed you, I guess I was really into slits at this time in my life, but I allowed for a slit here, if you can see this on the side. So, oh my gosh, here we go. I allowed for a slit here. So instead of continuing the stitch all the way down, I hemmed it on both sides. Then when the whole thing was put together, I attached some snazzy little gold cord here attaching to both of the top corners of the dress. So this is a little bit more involved, but I wanted to give you this example as well, just in case this is similar to what you want to make. Okay, my very last example, and then I'm going to be quiet and let you move on.